or another. Don't forget to hit that notification button. Join that squad. Squad up. Cowboy Nation, one way or another. All right, appreciate everybody for being part of this thing. We already know the off season is always an up and down motion going with this thing. And when you're talking about Jerry Jones and his decisions to just sell the team in general, false expectations, hard expectations, whatever the expectation that you think it may be, that's what Jerry Jones do. And that's just the bottom line. We got to look at it from that aspect of it, but there's still positivity to go around and to spread around. Appreciate each and every last one of you all. Just understand this, whereas we just have to sit back and enjoy the ride. The ride is one hell of a ride, but it's one of those things whereas we have to sit back and just enjoy it. We can look back at other things and other factors and say, look at this team, look what they're doing. But I can tell you right now, Will McClay is one of those guys, man, that always put us in the right situation as it relates to player evaluation. You guys already know player evaluation is what, 365, 24 hours, 52 weeks. It's one of those things where you got to say, hey, law is always around the corner of some positive feelings, some positive vibes going around with this team. So let me just do this right here. We're going to listen in to 105.3 The Fan. They talked about earlier today, Warren Moon. He was the guy that's a Hall of Famer. Fought his way to get into the league. And some people said his qualities of his skill set of play is similar. Not calling Dak Prescott or Warren Moon, but similar. And not saying that because both of them are of the same hue or what have you. I'm saying this because Warren Moon sees something, and when Warren Moon speaks, I'm listening. When Gil Brandt, we're going to talk about that too. I'm listening. But let's listen in to 105.3 The Fan.
Joining us now, 9-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro in 1990, an NFL Man of the Year, and current broadcaster, Seahawks analyst up there in Seattle. One of his stops in the NFL is Warren Moon joining us now on your home of the Cowboys, 105 through The Fan. Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl time, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And this place is buzzing.
So I can't wait to talk Super Bowl, but here's the deal. John Kitna comes to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
You're his mentor? That's not overstating it, right?
Well, he was my backup, and I tried to mentor him as much as I could, and I like to think I'm successful because he had a pretty good career.
He sure did.
I don't know how much I played a part in it.
Well, he had a lot of room to grow, right? I mean,
did.
He was one of those guys that wasn't really highly touted.
Came from a small school, Central Washington, but, he had really good athleticism, very smart, a guy that just wanted to pick up as much as he could. He was like a sponge, and he just wanted to listen to him. Not only myself, but John Freeze was on our team at that time. He just wanted to know as much as he could about the position, so when he finally got his opportunity, when he went on the field, he made the most out of it and turned in a long career. What did he play, about 17 years?
Yeah, I mean,
for a while.
Finished up with the Cowboys, came out of retirement to play a Week 17 game,
I remember
think, a few years back. So
that's not long compared to you, though, right? How long if we combine CFL?
I got 23 in, so that was a long career.
That was a long career.
It's
Wow.
such a generic question. What's Canada like? Like, you see 5 straight Grey Cups. We talk about the NFL all the time, but I'm like, holy cow, that's
impressive.
impressive.
It. I mean, whenever you're winning, it doesn't matter where you are. You just enjoy the environment. Like, even when you're in high school or if you're in junior college or college, if you're winning, it just makes everything great. And even though I was in another country, I didn't know a lot of people besides the guys on my team. When you're in that environment, it just makes everything better. You're not as homesick as maybe a guy who's on a losing football team. It's not as cold as it is in other cities when you're winning like that. So when you go on a run of 5 straight championships, it's a really good feel, and you don't really appreciate how big a run that was until you retire and see that no other team has ever done anything like that in pro football.
How different is the process in Canada? Like with your coaching staff, do you have a whole lot more pull? Do you know?
I had a lot more input as far as what our offense was all about, and our coaches let us have that. We had veteran quarterbacks along with me. When I first went there, we had 2 guys that were 35 and 36 years old, kind of at the end of their careers. That's why they brought me in as a young guy to kind of take over the reins. So those guys had a lot of input. They showed me a lot how to play the game. Because the Canadian football game is really different from the NFL game as far as how you strategize with 3 downs, 12 players, all those different things. So it was a learning experience for me that first year.
How many Grey Cups did it take to get the NFL to call, though? Did they start calling after 3 or 4?
Well, I think so. There's always scouts up there, and I would always hear that, this team was there, that team was there. But when you're under contract, they can't do very much with you. But you also know that they're interested because that's why they're coming. So it was just a matter of me getting to a point where my contract was going to be where I could get out of it, or it was going to end, and then there was going to be some opportunities for me. So I enjoyed myself up there so much that I thought at one point I was going to play my whole career up there.
Wow.
But then I just kind of ran out of challenges after you win so many different times. So I wanted to always in the back of my mind see how good I was against the best players in the world, and the best players in the world obviously were down here in the United States.
It's Warren Moon with us. So what kind of a coach do you think John Kitna is going to be?
We're
hearing he's going to be the Cowboys quarterback
John
coach.
Kitna.
They're kind of being secretive about the exact roles. But give us him, and obviously we're very excited about Dak and helping him take the next steps.
Yeah, and if Kellen Moore is going to be the offensive coordinator, Kellen's going to be probably, 10, 15 years younger than John.
Yeah.
And John will have maybe a little bit more experience. But, John is a guy, first of all, he's a team player, so he'll get along with everybody. He's a guy that has a great personality, but he also knows how to be tough when he needs to be tough. So I think he'll be really good for Dak because he's a guy that knows fundamentals, he knows technique, but he also knows how to play the game in a free-flowing, fun style as well. So I don't think he's going to try and corral Dak as far as some of the athleticism and some of the free reigning things that he can do that make him special.
Okay, so what do you think of Dak? And I think we're kind of hoping he can have a Russell Wilson trajectory, so by the late 20s maybe he can carry the team. Where is Dak compared to where Russell Wilson was after 3 years? That's a better question.
Well, I think there's a lot of similarities between the two as far, not so much in the style of the way they play the game, but you got to remember, Russell played with a great defense when he got to Seattle.
Listen up, people. Listen
up.
up.
The best in the league for 4 or 5 years in a row, and Dallas is starting to do that now. You see their defense has really ascended, become a top 5 defense. You see what happens when you put top flight talent around a quarterback. It makes his game go to another level too, because he can't do it all by himself. So you bring in an Amari Cooper. You already have Zeke. The tight end there is starting to emerge. Some of the young receivers starting to emerge later in the year, and you started to see Dak's numbers grow because of that. So quarterback has a lot to do with what surrounds you. We all knew he had a great offensive line. We all knew he had a great running back. Now he's starting to get some receivers that give him some weapons to throw the football to, and now they can start to expand their offense a little bit more and let him do a few more things throwing the ball more vertically down the field.
So, Warren, when we look at quarterbacks that played in the 80s or 90s, you can look at their attempts or completions, and it's a totally different game, but not for you. You played in such a system in Houston where you were leading the league in attempts and completions a lot for about a 6-7 year period. So where do you see the game now, or why? Maybe a better question would be, you kind of played in a style of offense that's similar to today's game. How come that ultimately didn't lead to a championship in the late 80s, early 90s?
Well, because we did it in such a free-flowing way, but the rules were still in place for a more physical style of football. You don't have the physical style of football with the receivers now that you have. The guys can come off the line of scrimmage now, not be touched after 5 yards.
Right.
The big hits are eliminated now over the middle, so there's no intimidation by on the receivers anymore. So it's a totally different game as far as quarterbacks with throw and catch, and that's why you see these numbers 4,500 yards is nothing now. 5,000 yards, there's numbers of guys throwing for that amount of yards. So the game has opened up so much more, but it's not as physical a game as it used to be. The way they're protecting the quarterback, all those different things I think have made the game a little bit more wide open for the offenses.
So this is a pretty interesting nugget that I didn't know that I want to ask you about. When the NFL did come calling and you end up being a Houston Oiler, it says here that the starting quarterback from 1983, Gifford Nielsen, as soon as you joined the team, he retired and said, well, I know he's going to be the starter. So you just showed up and a guy quit?
Well, he retired.
He's like, well, no, I can't.
Well, I think he got offered the news director at a TV station, too, so that's a great opportunity. And I think he had played, what did he play? He had played maybe 6 or 7, 8 years or something like that. So he felt like he had a good career, didn't want to be a backup, and got a great job opportunity, so he took it.
Now, where does the loyalty go for a player? If you're a Houston Oiler for a long time, they become the Titans. Now there is a team in Houston. Are you more of a Titans guy or a Texans guy?
Well, I'm still a Titans guy. That's where all my records are. That's where all my history is. It's unfortunate, not only for me, but say if you're a guy that only played for the Oilers, you don't have an identity anymore. What's your identity? That when it's alumni weekend and everybody else is going to their different teams that they played for, the Oilers don't have an alumni weekend. Yeah. So I think the Titans now are starting to reach out to a lot of the former Oiler players to try and welcome them back in. But still, a lot of those guys live in Houston, and the Titans are in Nashville. So it really makes it tough for those guys identity-wise. For myself, I played for a number of teams, so I have associations and identity with some of those other teams, but you would love to have the identity with the Oilers if they were still around.
So obviously you guys get to see the Rams a whole lot. I'd love to know your thoughts on, are they going to be able to take down the Patriots?
I think they have the ability to take down the Patriots. They can score. I think everybody knows that they're probably going to put right around 30 points up. They seem to do that every game that they play. But can they stop the Patriots from scoring 31, 32, 33 and beating them? So, that was what I thought was going to happen with the Chiefs. I knew the Chiefs would score 30 points. I just didn't know if the Patriots would score 37, and they did because it went into overtime. But that's what it's going to take for the Rams. This is going to be a game, which defense plays the best is going to win, because both of these teams can score. Both of them are playing really good right now in an offensive flow. Running and throwing the football, especially the Patriots. They have a great balance going right now with running the ball and Tom Brady with the passing game, and especially with the play action because of the running game being so good. So that's what it's going to come down to, which defense can make the big play down the stretch. And that's kind of what happened last year in the Super Bowl with Philadelphia. Neither team could stop each other. I don't think there was but 1 or 2 punts in the whole Super Bowl, but Philadelphia made the big play on Tom Brady knocking the ball out on that last drive, and that's what won the game for him.
Another thing that's different from your playing era to this one that we talk about a lot is it seems like teams are offensively more interested in not turning it over than making big plays a lot. And I'm like, holy cow, so many short passes now. So, what do you think that's done to the game? Is it a better game now? I mean, the offenses are kind of grinding it down to darn near a halt, and we're not getting the turnovers going the other way, and we're not getting as many huge plays down the field.
Yeah, because they all know that offense is such a big part of the game. All these teams can score, like I said, 30-plus points, so you don't want to give them the ball. You want to try and possess the ball as long as you possibly can.
That's a good nugget right there. We'll touch up on that.
Short passing game, but they also do it running the football. And if you can keep the football for 6, 7, 8-minute drives, keep the ball away from the other team and score touchdowns, you have a pretty good chance of winning. It's the teams that have to settle for field goals when the other team's going to come down and score. It's almost like in basketball, the team that can shoot the most three-pointers compared to the team that shoots two-pointers is going to win the football game. Basketball game. So that's what you see teams doing now, especially in the playoffs, trying to keep the ball away from these high-powered offenses, but at the same time, they're trying to score points when they have the football.
Okay, it's Warren Moon with us. You guys have seen the Cowboys a lot recently, too, haven't you? It's been like 3 games in the last couple years.
Yeah.
What do they need to do to take the next step? It's the offseason. Do you invest in making a great defense like the Seahawks have?
I haven't heard his interview yet, so
for the offense?
I think their defense is there. The biggest problem the Cowboys, I think, are going to have is keeping the players that they do have right now, because a lot of those guys' contracts are coming up. You got DeMarcus Lawrence, I think, is going to be a free agent this offseason. You got Zeke coming up next year. You got Dak coming up next year. Amari Cooper's coming up next year. So I don't think they're a team that's going to be out there looking for a lot of free agents to improve their team. I think maybe they could probably use a tight end. I don't know what their offensive line play is like as far as age-wise, but they've had one of the best offensive lines in football for the last 3 or 4 years. I don't know where those guys are.
Need to get healthy.
They're still young.
Yeah,
they
they're
need to
younger,
get healthy.
Yeah, they just need to get healthy.
Tyron's the old man. He's like 27.
So I think defensively they're really, really good, but they just want to try and keep what they have. And that's going to be the big key, keeping those guys from free agency. Do you have enough money under your salary cap to keep them all happy?
And then, Warren, we were really surprised. I think the country was really surprised with Seattle's success. Maybe people in Seattle.
I don't care about
I think people in Seattle.
All right, so just to piggyback off what he was saying is that the biggest issue that he can see from the outside looking in, we love to hear this, right? We love to hear like thoughts from the outside looking in. He said the biggest issue would be like securing the players. We talked about, do you go ahead and pay DeMarcus? We know what the Patriots would do, and I'm not trying to make this the Patriots show, but they would try to package up some things to get some trades for DeMarcus. They'll try to get some first-round picks for DeMarcus. They'll package up something. That's just how the Patriots do. They get about 2 or 3 first-round picks for DeMarcus right now. They know how to finesse that thing. So I'm with the belief of like, man, every person that we done paid in the past then came back to bid us, opposed to like the offensive lineman. We can go all the way back to somebody post. I think they mentioned Marion the Barbarian. We paid that man $45 million, and all of a sudden he folded up like lawn chairs. We fooled around and paid number 19 Miles Austin. The dude hamstring just blew up in the middle of the field. And then we went around and we paid Roy Williams of the world, the second Roy Williams, the wide receiver. And we already know what happened to him. And then we fooled around and we paid who's this other guy we paid? I want to say Brandon Carr. We made a trade. Paid that man $50 million at the time. That was a lot of cash. And we started looking around and we started saying, man, Brandon used Carr. I think the scheme just didn't fit well with him. And we paid Tony Romo. Then all of a sudden he broke his pinky. He broke his collarbone. He broke a lot of things. And then towards the latter part of his career in 2014, we was like, yes, we finally reaping the benefits that we sowed. So it's crazy. And we paid Desmond Bryant, and then all of a sudden metatarsal on his foot just collapsed. So I think that Stephen Jones is of the belief and of the mind of pausing when it comes down to paying somebody. I want to know your thoughts, guys. I really do. I don't know everything. I'm just speculating. We riding the roller coaster just like everybody else. We sitting back and we enjoying this ride. Sometimes the ride can be scary. I already told you I got my half a bottle of Hennessy, and I'm sitting in the middle of the roller coaster this year. I'm not going to sit up in the front. I'm not going to sit in the back. I'm right in the middle. And sometimes I'm going to close my eyes on the scary parts and make sure I can really get that adrenaline, get that thing going. Shout out to you, C+. Thank you for joining in, and shout out to you, Black Mama. All you guys is out here, man. Stellos, appreciate you for tuning in to the nation. Let me know, guys. I really want to know. Jason Garrett's not going nowhere. We love the speaks that Jason Garrett gives and everything, and the way he keeps everybody in line and check. Just a great motivator. But like I heard somebody put down on the post, just let me know if you are the person that said this. Man, Jason Garrett from Monday through Saturday, man, we love him. It's just that sometimes on Sundays we be sitting at the edge of our seat and we be like, come on, Jason, what you gonna do for us? And if we can go back and look at the last year's game, and the only game that we can say to ourselves, man, boy, we dominated that game, and that was the Jacksonville Jaguars game. So it's one of those things, one way or another, Cowboy Nation. Let me know of your thoughts. And just to piggyback off of what Warren Moon was talking about as it relates to the offensive side of the ball. And everybody throwing 4,000 to 5,000 yards nowadays. And it is very easy for these players to these quarterbacks to get these amount of yardage. I'm going to say this. We love Dak Prescott. We love his skill set. We love his ability to escape out of the pocket. We can see with our natural eyes that this guy, he got the intangibles. He may not can hit water if he fell off a boat, but I done did a whole highlight reel of this guy throwing 20 or more yards down the field, accuracy, pinpoint balls on the long ball. We seen that with ourselves. We seen that. You saw it over there. You saw it over here. You saw it. He's able to do that. But my thing is, can he do it consistently, and can he do it with a scheme that's designed to help him and minimize his weakness and strengthen his strengths, or maximize his strength? And hopefully, Kellen Moore may be that person that can do that. As we look over here on my Instagram page behind me, you guys see that on the TV. We talked about this thing before. We talked about Kellen Moore, and we talked about the things that we kind of like. Oh man, is he going to be the same guy that basically we saw all year as it relates to being the quarterback coach? But this guy Gil, when we listen to Gil Brandt, he's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. We can argue this right here. The reason why we got the first 2 Super Bowls with the Dallas Cowboys is because of that guy that's in the picture on the TV screen. And he says Kellen Moore is an interesting study. He's a guy that's from a small town in Washington, and he has a father who was a coach. And he wanted to play for Washington State, but it didn't happen basically. But what the thing is, he played for Boise. And they won 51 games, and that's something remarkable. We understand that that's only on the collegiate level. That's college football, right? But also he talked about this thing right here. Everywhere you go, when you listen then to people who have been in the same room with Kellen Moore, people who talk to Kellen Moore, they talk about the fact that this guy is a whiz. He's brilliant. He's smart. He's intelligent. He got wisdom of the game, right? Now, he may just be the next Bill Belichick. All we know, he may be the next, Sean McVay? I'm not calling him that, but this is the thing, Cowboy Nation. When reality meets expectations, or when expectations meets reality, the thing is, there's going to be still growing pains. There's still going to be situations where it's going to be cause to pause, and everybody going to sit back and say, oh my goodness, here we go, Cowboys. Can you believe he called that particular play at the 50-yard line? Come on, Cowboys. We know a kid that's in 6th grade that playing Madden that can call a better play than that. What the world is he thinking? But there goes to show you, it's still going to take time. I would be remiss to add the fact that Kellen Moore, as an offensive coordinator, who is still going to be the mystery, the xenophobia of things, the fear of the unknown, for those who don't know what xenophobia is. All right, Stello says, how can the Cowboys manage to get a deal worked out? This is Stellos. Thank you for the donation to help grow the nation. That's something that you must be talking about as far as it relates to DeMarcus. It's going to be like this. We're going to have to look up the other players that's out there that's getting that big cheese. And I ain't talking about small paper. I'm talking about big cheese. And we got to do what's right by him if you're really going to pay the man. I don't think that you can go up to him and say, okay, DeMarcus, we're going to give you 16 mil. We're going to give you 15 mil. That's a lot of money, man. You should take it. Eat that money, But I don't think that he's going to do that. And then there's other people that's going to look at it and say, okay, are we able to win games without that presence? Can we trust Will McClay to find that other guy? Can we trust our resources to go out there and find a free agent that's a little bit cheaper than what DeMarcus Lawrence is saying that he want? and we don't want this to happen to us, where he goes to another team and just balls out and get 20 sacks. And we be like, oh, Lord, we've been crying that we want a war daddy. And now we got one, but we refuse to pay him because we want to pay other players. And now we back in the same situation. Because from my understanding, from my knowledge, and from my thoughts of what they were trying to do with the Taco Charltons of the world, is that they thought that this right here, I got tongue twisted. They thought that this right here, that at least he can give you 6 or 7 sacks a game, maybe 8, and hopefully everybody can be like a defense on their front four as it relates to everybody working together as a team. Everybody, it would be a community type of sack situation. kind of like the boys doing over there in New England. That's the one thing that I can relate this thing to, because they're not paying no $17 million for their defensive front on anybody. Collectively, they paying that. They thought that they was going to get that, but we're not getting that from Taco. I think that it would probably be better for us to kick Taco into the inside. But neither here nor there. Shout out to you, Joshua. Thank you, Sheila Neal. Thank you for tuning in to the nation. Yes, we was messed up that we let go of Ware. Yeah, it was messed up, but they didn't want to flex it, whereas they thought that he was done. They thought that you could stick a fork in him and it was over with for him, but it wasn't. So let's click back over to this right here, this other topic for today. We're going to talk about Charlie Weis. You guys remember him? Do you guys remember Charlie Weis? He said that pretty much when he was the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, is that they still using basically his scheme. They're using his system. And he's saying, Charlie Weis is saying that, hey, Cowboys, I know how to fix your problem with the offense. Just give me a sheet of paper and a pen and give me a phone call, because I can drop everything for you. I can be your offensive coordinator. This is from Charlie Weis. We're going to listen in to his interview from 105.3 The Fan. Really appreciate each and every last one of you all. Shout out to 105.3 The Fan. Let's go. Let's go.
A surprise guest as we open up hour number one right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Our guest most recognized as the coach at Notre Dame, offensive coordinator at New England, as well as other high-profile coaching jobs in college football in the NFL, Kansas City. He's now a broadcaster, doing radio on Sirius XM.
Johnson, shout out to you, man. Born to the game.
Oh, man.
Oh, Coach.
That's the
What
way
does
I
that
feel.
make us?
We are losers.
Coach
We've
Charlie
always
Weis.
been losers.
I didn't say you were.
Oh, okay.
I said I'm officially one.
You had a good run. All good things have to come to an end, I guess.
We got to set this up properly for our listeners. Where are you supposed to be, Coach?
Actually, yesterday I did one of the main radio stations in Boston. So what I try to do is I try to be as fair as I possibly can, so that if somebody else comes and asks you, so you're not doing one and not the other. I just don't think that's the right way of doing things.
And so you were aimlessly wandering around looking for the other Boston station, and you're just here.
Actually. And then I got these guys from Dallas and said, how about them Cowboys?
Yeah, let's do that.
How about them
Are you a
Cowboys?
Cowboys fan? How do you feel about the Cowboys, Charlie?
I
How do you look at
I
that?
grew up in New Jersey as a Giant fan, so I never had a lot of love for the Cowboys, but I do like the Jones family. I have a lot of respect for them.
Who don't like the
There's
Jones family?
People in that organization that I have a lot of respect for. So, unlike a lot of people, you're not going to get me saying a lot of negative things because they're not coming.
So, Charlie, we immediately will get into this. We look at New England's offense, and I know it's probably changed since you've been there a little bit.
Not too much.
Not too much.
No.
Okay.
Listen.
In Dallas, we'll hear from Michael Irvin, and people say that the Dallas Cowboys offense is a man-beat-man offense, that you need to just beat your guy, where he'll talk about New England or other teams say that's more of a scheming offense where they'll scheme guys open. Do you see it that way when you watch Dallas as a man-beat-man offense?
It depends on who you have. It depends on who the players are. One of the biggest problems with coaches is when you don't figure out what your players can do and can't do.
Wow, deep.
So once you figure out what your players can do, that's what you do.
Listen, hey, this is Charlie Weis. Now, although when he went off from the New England Patriots, he haven't improved on anything as far as coaching records or what have you. But he's talking about what we've been echoing for the last, year and a half so now. Do what's best for your particular player. Do what he can do as far as his skill set. We already know what can work for Dak Prescott, but not try to make him a pocket quarterback, for one, right? And then we already talked about the Rico Suaves, the Rico Gathers. At first, I was calling him the Zeus, for crying out loud. And we already know what's his skill set, what he can do. Maybe he's not an inline blocker. You know what I mean? Set him up vertically up the seam. Do other things. Do what the player can do best. Let's listen back into what he had to say. Look, Wesley said, play to the player's strength. Boy, man. Ooh, Sheila Neal, she's saying it too. Let's listen.
And too many times the coaches don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for example, if you have guys that can't win one-on-one, then you have to get them open. Then
What?
you have to bunch them up. You have to use motion. You have to use different avenues to go ahead and create separation. Maybe Amari Cooper can win one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he can, but maybe he's the only one who can. Or maybe Beasley can win in the slot one-on-one.
Right.
So you really need to know who you have. What do you got with Gallup? What do you have with him? I mean, looks like you got a lot of potential for a young guy.
Come on, Weis, talk about the quarterback.
He's a really polished college receiver. So you look at those guys and say, okay, go get me a frontline tight end, or maybe one of these young guys who had some numbers at the end of the year can do something, and then you say, okay, you got yourself something.
Coach Charlie Weis here with us. So what do they have in Dak last year? I'm sure you saw maybe the numbers. They were running into run front so much, almost not trusting Dak to beat man coverage.
There's nothing wrong with running into run fronts. Okay, the Cowboys, obviously, between their offensive line and number 21, are built to run the football. And you want to make the quarterback be successful, then run the hell out of the football. And it's not necessarily your rushing yard average that's important, it's your rushing attempts that's important. Because the more they have to commit to stopping the run, and with 21 already you have to understand you're going to have to commit to stopping the run. It opens up the whole passing game.
Okay. Let me ask you then about the way they run, the down and distance, the pre-snap motion. Are the Cowboys up to date in your opinion on those things?
Until you study what they're doing on it, I'd be ignorant to answer that question. Because until you really study what they're doing, you have to look and say, well, I would do it differently, or this is how I would do it. But until you're sitting in that room, with your coaching staff, studying the opponents, knowing your guys and studying the opponents, it'd be erroneous to answer the question without really knowing that.
So I thought you said two great things before we went on the air. The first one was, if you want my cell phone number, I can fix your offense. And the second one was, I know a lot of people in Dallas may not believe it, but you can win with Dak, and you really like Dak.
I loved him from when he was in college.
So what did you do with him?
Okay, well,
what would you
my
do?
kid was coaching at Alabama. My kid's a young coach, okay, but at 25, he's already going into his fifth year of coaching. 2 years at Alabama, 1 year with the Falcons.
Not a head start.
And now he's going into his second year as an offensive coordinator at a Division I program at FAU, and he's only 25 years old.
Right. Impressive.
Okay, so when he was at Alabama, they played against Dak in Mississippi State. They sacked him 8 times that day. The guy kept getting up and still threw over 300 yards and made the game at least competitive. And I'm watching and saying, who is this guy? I mean, he was the toughest quarterback I had seen in quite some time. Okay, slinging it all over the yards, getting beaten up and getting up like it was no big deal. He looked like damn Rocky Balboa. That's what he, to give an analogy. So I kept an eye on him. And let's face it, if it wasn't for a DUI or whatever he got after his senior year, he would probably have been about a second-round draft choice. It probably cost him a couple of rounds because the fourth round was dictated by the drinking incident. It wasn't dictated by his play. I mean, so you look at this guy. What is he made to do? Well, maybe he's not Tommy Brady slinging it on every play. But if you're taking your play action shots down the field on first down because everyone's trying to stop number 21, okay, now all of a sudden you got home run shots. You already brought in your number 1 wide receiver. That means your number 2 receiver went to your number 1 went to 2, 2 went to 3. You've already changed the whole complexion of your offense. Your offensive line's coming back and play. Now you want to make a change at quarterback? I mean, just as long as you don't get overpriced. Just as long as you don't get overpriced on them, right? Let's face it, once you get past a rookie contract, you're going to have to pay more money. It's just, you're getting them on the cheap on one end. So it isn't like you're really going crazy on the other end because he should have been making a lot more money by now anyway.
Charlie Weis with us right now on 105.3 The Fan. How much or how little does Bill Belichick have on kind of the offensive side of the ball for the Patriots?
He doesn't involve himself very much.
Go back to Cowboys talk.
What he does is he'll spend time with the quarterbacks, going over both the defensive coverages and the defensive personnel and all their strengths and weaknesses. I mean, so he'll do that with the quarterbacks. And in addition, he'll give you a handful of suggestions, but those suggestions are never like on game day. Not like on game day, all of a sudden he's saying, let's do this or let's do that. So, like, he'll watch tape just like anyone, the rest of the staff, and he won't wait till after the game plan is in. You know, nothing used to bother me more than when coaches would come to you after you already did the game plan and say, I got these 8 ideas. Well, why don't you tell me that on Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, not Tuesday a.m., not p.m., after I've been working it all day, working on a first and second down game plan. But he'd have some ideas, and I'll give you a perfect one that helped us win a Super Bowl.
All right.
We're playing in Super Bowl 36 against the Rams, and we're watching their left corner, okay, on our right side, watching their left corner in the red zone, jumping everything. So we had a play where, I had this guy by the name of David Patton, as an outside receiver coming in motion, running and out. And he said, after the first week of practice back at the ranch, we're down there, and he goes, don't you think you should possibly run an out go there because the guy's jumping all over it? So we practiced it once or twice. First time we got in the red zone, we're on the 10-yard line. You want to keep the head coach happy?
Yeah.
Call the play that he suggested. David Patton runs a little out go, touchdown, good guys. So, normally when Bill gave you a suggestion, it was based off of evidence, not off of just a feel. It was based off of evidence, and normally it was a positive one. Now, there'd be times where he'd give some play, and you'd be in the middle of a game, and you'd be in some kind of flow and say, let's run it now. Well, I've always felt that when you're not the head coach asks you to do something, you do it, okay?
Right.
Even if you don't totally agree with it, it's his show. But he would be the first one, if it didn't work, he'd be the first one to say, God, I screwed that one up. I'm sorry. He'd have no problem saying that to you. So he won't be too involved. Josh will say, hey, here's what we're doing and why. He'll have given them a couple suggestions, which he will have. He'll have given them a couple suggestions, and that's the end of it. You just go move forward.
Are they going to win this game?
I think they win. I think that this will be the first time in a while that Patriot fans won't have to wait to the last play of the game to find out whether they won or lost.
Okay, I heard you said they were going to stomp them. What is it? What do you base it off of?
Where do you want me to start?
With the Patriots shutting the Rams down.
I want to listen to this right here.
Tell me what receiver on the Rams you're concerned with.
I guess McVay, because it would start with Cooks and then be Woods. They're just okay.
Yeah, I'm concerned with one receiver, Cooper Kupp. Oh, that's right. He's not playing.
Wow.
So I'm not really. Cook, you're concerned with him?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they practiced against him for a whole year, right? You think they know anything about him?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think they do too. And they do happen to have a corner that was first team All-Pro playing for them too, right?
Yeah.
So let's take him and put him with him, and that's the end of him. Okay. Now who are you throwing the ball to?
Robert Woods.
Okay, Robert Woods.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I'm going to throw about 18, 12-yard in
this
routes.
Weis
Robert
is cocky.
Woods off play action. That's probably what they do, right?
Charlie Weis.
Do you think he's going to be open 18 times?
Probably not. Bill Belichick ain't having that.
No, that's probably not happening. So, realistically, for the Rams to win the game, they're going to have to be able to run the football effectively. Now, they do have two runners that are different, but they're both good football players. If the Rams can rush the ball effectively, that'll be one of the – if you ask me for a formula for the Rams to win, part of that formula is to be rushing the ball with very good efficiency and running it a whole bunch.
What are they going to draw up to protect Tom to make sure this isn't a game where the pocket is disrupted too much with Aaron Donald?
Well, if it's a four-man front, you can count on the help going to 99.
True that.
They're going to make, just like they do their defense taking an offensive guy out of the they're going to do the same thing on offense. I mean, they've made that mistake before. Mm-hmm. I'm watching the one Super Bowl where Justin Tuck is a 3 technique, and they still haven't blocked him, and they end up losing to a Giant team that I felt was inferior. but they lost to him because they blocked the outside guys but didn't block the inside guy.
There you go.
So I don't think they'll let that happen. I can't imagine.
How did they, when the league is designed? The league is designed for the Patriots not to exist. This is not supposed to happen. You don't get to go 20 years. Is it just find the right quarterback, or how do you out-prepare the entire league every year by this much?
Well, let's start with two factors, and then I'm going to add a third that I think is of equal importance. Okay, they got the best coach and the best quarterback.
Okay.
That's a good place to start.
It's a good start.
Right.
Okay.
And
then the
place
third
to
thing,
start.
they've had the same offensive system and the same defensive system for 20 years.
Think about that.
Continuity.
Don't change.
Think about it. I put the offense in originally. Okay,
Listen.
I left. Josh, for a year, went unnamed as the coordinator, even though he was the coordinator, because Bill didn't want to throw him to the wolves publicly. Okay, then Josh became the coordinator. Then he left, and Billy O'Brien was then on the staff, and he became the coordinator. Then Josh got fired from Denver, and Billy O'Brien left, and he came back as the coordinator. I mean, so really, it's been three coordinators the whole time. There's guys that have three coordinators in 3 years.
Josh leaves, you coming back? Jump back in there?
If Josh left and Bill called, okay, I would go. That's one of the places I would go to. You know, because at my stage of my life, I'm living in South Florida. My wife's an equestrian rider. She loves riding horses. I'm really on the honeydew portion of my life, right? You know,
take care
when
of the
you're
lady.
a coach's wife and you raise the kids by yourself, basically, you know, there comes a time in your life where it becomes more about them than about you. But there are certain places that you say, you know, would you go? The Cowboys, for example. Now, I think that they're pretty. I think they have their game plan is set. They know what they want to do. I mean, you know, whether it's Moore, you know, I'm assuming that's who it is. You know, it seems like it's set up for Moore and Kitna, and that deal looks like it's already in place. Okay, but that's the type of place where they called up. You're me. Okay, you want to go somewhere where you have a chance to win before you leave. Well,
listen,
you got a
just
good
to win.
defense.
Yeah.
Okay. Two really, really outstanding defensive coaches. Not that the rest of them aren't good, but a good young one and a good old one.
Right.
Okay. So I look at those two guys. I look at Marinelli and Richard. See, you don't think I know these people? I do.
You dialed in, man.
Okay.
dialed
I'm watching
in,
those two young inside linebackers that making everyone forget about Sean Lee. I'm watching those guys and say, okay, they're stout on defense.
Right.
They're young. They're athletic. Now on offense, I like the offensive line. I recruited Zach Martin. Okay. You know, I was sitting in his home. He committed to me going to Notre Dame, and then they fired me. Okay, but and his brother, who's playing for playing the league, he was just there for a long. He was like a little young guy at the meeting at the time. But I mean, I love the offensive line. Hopefully, you get some people back like, you know, Frederick and those type of things. You get that back in shape. You go get yourself a front line tight end. Sign me up. Let's go.
There you
Hey,
go.
You want my cell number? You got it.
There he is. Great note to end on, Charlie Weis. Thank you so much.
Hey, as much as I look, I know Charlie Wise is just sitting there thinking, do I sit back in South Florida and just still do this honey-do list, or I can just kick it over here in Texas? You know, it's a little hot out here, but hey, he already talked about that he don't have to worry about the defense at all. He got Rob Marinelli, Papa Rod, and then he got Chris Richard. They're going to hold down the fort with the defense. And I'm thinking what Charlie Wise can bring to this particular team is just experience. What we was talking about, growing pains, right? If I'm Jerry Jones, I'm somehow listening into this, and I'm sitting there saying, okay, I got a proven commodity that I know for sure that can at least get this offense going. He's not even wanting to be the head coach. All he's saying is that, hey, give me a phone call, Jerry, and I can just figure out ways to plug things together to make it work for you. I can tell you what worked for over there in New England, not saying that you have the skill sets of New England or what have you, but on their defense, he just listed down below of what all we got on this defense that he don't even have to worry about. All he got to do is saying, okay, you mean to tell me that he got Ezekiel Elliott? All he's saying is that what's missing is a frontline offensive tight end. He loves his offensive line, and he loved Dak Prescott since the time before even Dak Prescott made it to the NFL. This will be like, if I'm a billionaire and all I want to do is win, I can still do this right here with Charlie Weis. I'll get on the phone with Charlie Weis and say, hey, you remember when you guys had Josh McDaniels and you were still able to groom Josh? You guys remember that? And that's what he was just talking in the interview. How about this? Charlie, can you help a brother out with a favor of a favor? Can you come over here and run this offense? And you already know what we're trying to do, but can we go ahead and insert you to help groom Kellen Moore? And he's going to be the future offensive coordinator. I'm in love with Jerry. Jerry Jones will say, I'm in love with my son, Jason Garrett. I'm not going to fire him because he's my son. And I'm not going to get rid of my son, but can at least insert yourself? Because you talked about continuity that helped out Bill Belichick's of the world because they've been running the same system for 20 years, and you were the guy that inserted the system there in New England. Can you figure out a way to help our team out so we can one day host that Lombardi Trophy again? Guys, let me think. Let me think about this, right? Let me know down in the comment box below. Let me know, man. And I'm gonna ask you to do a quick Q&A of what you guys are thinking. And keep in mind, a couple of weeks from now, I will have the phone lines hot and ready for you guys so you guys can call in and give me your opinions. But if you can quickly put down your comments down, and we'll listen to one more interview before we go, okay? This is from Stellos. Jerry Jones, what the F? Bring in Chuck. Yes, that's what he's saying. Bring him in. All right, so Jimmy says, what's up, Law? Shout out to you, man. Did Jerry Jones hear this? This is from Brian Bradford. This is the one thing that we can say, that we at least have a coach that can bring up some schemes, and play to the player's strength. I'm not saying Jason Garrett don't know how to do that, but Jason Garrett refuses to do that because he got the 90s mentality, whereas you line up your macho guys, you line up Amari Cooper and versus Amari Cooper versus your best DB, and we're going to beat them down man to man, mano y mano. That's Jason Garrett's mindset. And trust me, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really not nothing wrong with it. You can win. It's proven. You can win 8 to 9, 10 games with that philosophy. Yes, you can. But, baby, when you get down to the playoff time, your best against my best don't work that way. And then on top of that, when you have the NFL refs and things like that all into the mix, boy, you're adding in a crazy equation. But neither here nor there. What I'm saying is collectively, guys, we need to stop with the mindset, I'm going to line up my best man versus your best man. Let's sprinkle some schemes into this thing. Once we sprinkle these schemes in, boy, woo-wee, it'll be nice, man. It will be nice. So let's listen into one other topic before I go. It's going to be London Fletcher. He's going to talk a little bit about, what he's been doing in his career and how difficult it was to play against Tony Romo and DeMarco Murray and Desmond Bryant and all of the, I guess, during that time frame when he was playing football. And he's going to talk a little bit about the current linebackers and as well as the Sean Lees of the world. I have yet to hear the full interview of this thing, so you guys is going to have to just go along with me. But really, just listen into this right here. That Charlie Weis, if anything, called the brother up to be a consultant. Just call him up, Jerry. Hey man, if you need to pay for if you need money for the plane ticket, Jerry, I will reach into my pocket and I will reach out to Charlie Weis' team and I'll fly him and his wife all the way out here to Texas. If that's what you're worried about, if you're worried about the plane ticket, I will cash app you the money, Jerry. Please, I want somebody else to just come into this thing because I love this team. Trust me, I don't like the Cowboys at all. I love them, and I'm willing to pay my own cash money to get Charlie Weis and his wife. I'll give her a tour of the star if I could. We need some new, just somebody different, just to be in here and say, okay, all right, this is what you guys are doing, which is good. But these are the things that you need to improve on. These are the things. Ain't that right, Stellos, with the Wolves? Yes, indeed. I will howl. I don't have that. I'm going to have to go get that that howl. But let's listen in to them and let me know, guys, what you guys think about that. Charlie Weis, just as an advisory or just as a supreme counsel of the panel or something like that. Bring the brother in. Let him do those type of things. Maybe, just maybe, that can help out this team, and hopefully we can get things going in those parameters. Let me know. Let's listen back to the 105.3 The Fan.
And joining us in the Diamonds Direct hot seat here, live on Radio Row, Super Bowl 53 on your home of the Cowboys, is a man that played 256 consecutive NFL games. That's durability right there. An Iron Man for the Rams, Washington, and the Bills. And obviously he made a ton of plays against the Cowboys over the years. He is here with United Airlines, a quality airline.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice to meet you, sir. Thanks for joining us here on the home of the Cowboys. How's your time in Atlanta going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me, man. I'm kind of in cowboy country, huh?
Absolutely.
Am I safe? Am I safe? I tell people, I meet a lot of Cowboys fans all over the country, and they know I play for the Redskins, and they give me crap. I said, man, why are y'all giving me crap? There was a season I could have been like the third leading receiver on the Cowboys. As many picks I had on.
Did you catch the one against Romo with like a minute something to go to kind of end the season for the Cowboys?
No, but I got to him a couple sacks that game. Okay. But and I tell people, hey man, why y'all getting on me? So Romo, he's doing his things and he's a great announcer predicting the plays. I was like, why didn't Romo predict that I was about to intercept him?
All the shots
I
fired.
love Tony. I tell you this, and so great respect for the Cowboys and Tony Romo, Jason Witten. And after the game, my last time I played against the Cowboys, it was my last regular season game against the in D.C. And Jason and I had Jason's number, and I text Jason. I said, man, him and Romo brought the best out of me because when I was going against those guys, I knew I had to be on top of my game. Yeah, and I just had to let him know that when I faced him and faced Romo, that I knew I had to be on top of my game. I had to lock in and be ready to play because Witten was going to. He was a great route runner. I mean, one of the best football players I've ever gone against. Tony and his savviness and all that. So I knew I had to be on top of my game, and I actually appreciated competing against those guys.
Are you surprised they didn't have more postseason success, or they weren't more accomplished?
I was, because when you look at some of those teams, man, they always had a great offensive line.
True that.
Running back they've always had top flight running backs. Witten was, one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends all the time in football. They had, whether it was T.O., Dez Bryant or whoever the case may be, always had a top-notch receiver. Defense was pretty good. They had talent on this team, and for some reason or another, and I know, looking back, the play against the Green Bay Packers, that, if they rule it different, then, there's a different story there. But I was surprised that they didn't have as much success with as much talent as they had.
So what was the Gavin? What was the amount of straight games?
256, right?
256 straight
and
games.
And like 215 started.
Wow. What's the secret? Okay, so let me set it up a little bit because we watch. So Sean Lee is a freaking incredible football player.
He is,
and the dude does everything he can to stay healthy. It doesn't work. His body's not having it. Is part of it luck, DNA? My body is just built to not break.
Some people that's just different. My body was probably built not to break. My trunk, man. I'm built different. Thick legs, quads, all that stuff, and I know that helped me. Sometimes I get a guy running to my knee or something like that, and where somebody else may have had a blown or torn ACL, I would have a sprained MCL.
You got armor.
Yeah, or something like that.
Look at these.
So it was yeah.
We got a webcam over here.
Hey, I got.
What were you, 5'10", 240 something?
245.
Yeah.
Most of my career, I got a big butt, and I hated my butt growing up, man. You know, it's not cool to have a big butt as a guy. So got teased a lot about it.
It became cool though.
This butt and these legs made me a lot of money. But getting back to Sean Lee, I tell you, I've always appreciated watching Sean play. I actually would tell young linebackers, they would tell, they want to come talk to me. Hey, London, once I retired, hey, how do I do this, do that? I would tell them to go watch Sean Lee take on blockers. Mm-hmm. His shock and shed, he was one of the best in the NFL. Like, this guy knows how to shock and shed linemen. I mean, it was impressive. But, some people are just more
disengaged
to injuries.
You started off your career with the St. Louis Rams. How much of an affiliation do you feel with the Rams that they moved from St. Louis to L.A.?
The great thing about the Rams organization, I will say this, is even though they moved to Los Angeles, is the alumni, Kyle Everett, he does a great job of embracing the former Rams player. I mean, they embrace you. They're always contacting you. Hey, you want to come out to games? Just come on out. I mean, they have done a great job of embracing whether you played in L.A. the first time when the Rams were there, you're a St. Louis Ram. If you're a Ram, you're a Ram. So there is a connection there. Stan Kroenke was a minority owner back when we were in St. Louis. He's the owner now.
Majority owner now.
I still know people who work for the Rams. I know Sean McVay well. So there's a connection there. But I just wish they were still in St. Louis, man, because when I tell you that was a special town, special place. They embraced us and they supported us. They played a big part in us making it to the Super Bowl.
It's London Fletcher here with us on The Fan. I mean, not only was it special for that city, but it was pretty special for you that period of time, coming in out undrafted out of Division III football, right?
Division
III. Without a doubt, absolutely.
How hard was that to prove yourself or even to get an opportunity?
It was you have I had a few knocks against me. My height, I couldn't do anything about it. I'm 5'10". It is what it is. If I played at a Division III school, which, 5'10", played at a Division III school, it's not many people that make it to the NFL, especially as a middle linebacker. Now, if I had chosen to play, I went to school on a Division I basketball scholarship initially, then transferred to John Carroll. I had Division I football offers. So I only played 1 year high school football. Could have gone Division I in football, chose something different. But as you get to the pro level, it's hard for people not to, look into stereotypes. Division III guy, 5'10". Right. Even 5'10". Though, man, I ran a 4.3 something 40 coming out of college.
4.38,
yeah. Yeah, fast. Yeah, but again, I had to constantly, if this guy was doing X, I had to do X plus XX to get noticed and get, the respect.
So one of the guys that we're starting to talk about a lot, because height has become something that is starting to become even less important at quarterback. Baker Mayfield comes in the league, Russell Wilson comes in the league, so now everybody's talking about Kyler Murray. What sort of perspective can you offer? Because you played your whole career as being short. So like my explanation is I feel like he's been beating everybody's butt while being short all along. Why do you think it's going to change? Like, what was your perspective on, guys, I've been winning. Why wouldn't I keep winning?
The way I look at it, when I was on the football field, I felt like a giant, man. I felt like a giant. There's a picture, one of my favorite pictures. It's me in a huddle. This one I was a Ram, St. Louis Ram, and I'm in front of my guys. I'm facing them, and they're facing me. And, here I am. I'm not looking up. And they're all looking down at me but I felt like a giant, and that's how I felt. When I was on that football field, I am a giant. It doesn't matter how tall I am. Leonard Davis, big guy. I'm 5'10". You're going to have to work hard to get underneath me. You better get low. If you don't, it's gonna be a tough day for you, brother. It's just
yes.
So
No man always win. Leverage
was about.
Hey, it's pretty much. I'm almost at that hour. I'm at the hour marker. Really appreciate each and every last one of you all for tuning in to the nation. Don't forget to hit that like button, share this content. Hey, man, the biggest and the nicest and the wonderful interview that I heard today was the Charlie Weis, man. I really like that interview. You guys can listen back to it on 105.3 The Fan or rewind. For those who missed the Charlie Weis interview, I would say this, Cowboy Nation. I will be happy if we can figure out a way to get somebody with that type of experience inside. Hired from within is a good thing. It's always good. But sometimes you bring in different thoughts, different opinions, different views, different things like that. It helps out. Because sometimes you may not know what you're doing wrong until somebody else point it out and say, okay, hey, this is the valuable feedback that you need to do in order to increase wins or in order to increase players' ability. And everything is scalable from there. Appreciate each and every last one of you all. Thank you all for tuning in to the nation. My name is Law Nation. Let's get this thing going one way or another, right? Off season is always a rocky road. But I can tell you this one thing I can say, that the Dallas Cowboys, we just don't like this team. We love it. So we're going to always feel that we can improve this team just by one or two players. I've seen a comment that's saying that we are one scat. Martin, I will check him out. We out. Peace. And remember, you're listening to nothing but the best. Salute.